What's up, good people? Good to see you on tonight. Come on
Come
into
on,
this
come
room.
on, come on.
Hopefully, you have had yourself a great Monday. And you get ready to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? You're getting ready to go on and have this conversation with us. You know what it is. It's your boy. It's your girl. Happy Monday to you. If you're coming, what's going on, Sister Darlene? Good to see you on tonight. If you're in, can you please leave your name in the comments field so we can show you some love on tonight? What's going on, fam? We got the Elliots in the house with us, showing us some love on tonight. Get ready to have this conversation. And the question is, huh? Can we talk? I want to know. Can we talk? Come on, come on.
I can't even sing tonight. My voice is a little wrecked. It's a jam.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to take you down memory lanes. We want to have this conversation on tonight. Now, I'm going to go on and slide this down.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to get Facebook blocked.
I don't want to dislike Tevin Campbell because YouTube has made me have an attitude because they silenced our video because we were playing music that we should be able to play, right? So, the question of the night, as we get started on this nice, beautiful Monday evening, the question is, how are you doing?
How y'all doing out here in these streets?
That's the question. And that question deserves a response. So we're going to wait for you to say something back to us. Get back at us, play us, okay? Let us know what's going on. How was your day? What did you get into? Did you have a great day in the Lord on today? Was your heart filled with joy on today? And if you had a little bit of frustration, did you get over it? That's the question, you know? So with that being said, sweetheart, how was your day?
Today was a good day. Today was a great day. Actually, I worked from home today. Felt like I was able to get a lot of things done. So just some administrative things that I needed to get done for work.
Okay.
So I was able to knock out some things. So that was good.
Okay.
Good times. Ooh, I look pale. Like
Come on, man.
Sorry. You know when you can see yourself. I'm like, how was your day? How was your day, honey?
I say this every Monday and I mean it. I don't have bad days. I really don't. Today was like the rest of them. Great. I had a great day. Went to work. Didn't have to be there until 8:30, 9 o'clock. Got there. Served my purpose for the day. And I came home.
That's it.
And when I got home, I just hung out with my wife.
Yeah.
And that makes my heart happy.
I'm glad the electricians came over here.
Yes, anyway. I'm glad that we don't have flickering lights going on right now.
Yeah, some strange things happening up in here.
Yeah, Doc. But yeah, we my Monday was good. So fam, how was your Monday? Did you have a great Monday? And how are you doing tonight? Are you ready to have this conversation? That's the question. Are you ready to talk about this thing? Today, we're going to talk about it because it needs to be talked about. You understand what I'm saying? Today, we are going to talk about fighting fair. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have this conversation because if you're going to do relationship the right way, if you're going to stay together for any amount of time, my friends, you're going to have to learn how to fight fair.
Facts.
Okay? Now, this is the thing. You're going to have days where you don't agree. You don't get along. Somebody don't say something they ain't had no business of saying. And now we got to have a discussion. Now we have to have a 1-to-1. Okay. we gotta put it out there. We gotta just go on and smooth out this thing. And so we wanted to have this conversation about fighting fair, because I believe this is when you learn the art of fighting fair, you are giving your relationship, your marriage, your friendships the ability to grow.
Absolutely.
You're giving your friendships, your relationships the ability to go further, to go deeper, to grow wider, to grow tall in stature, right? Because now you are now having the ability to do something even though you might not want to be doing it at that moment. Because sometimes when you get frustrated, that is the hardest time to communicate. That's the hardest time to get out of your own way, do what's best for the person that you're in conversation or in disagreement with, and love them the way that they supposed to be loved, right?
Yeah.
And so we're gonna go on and talk about this thing. So what the question is what causes disagreement? What causes a fight? What types of things lead up to fights? That's the question. You know what I'm saying? I would go on the limb to say the thing that causes fights is when you don't consider how what's coming out your mouth can impact the person that you're in conversation with or in relationship with. When you just popping off at the mouth, you just got something to say and you don't care how it's coming out your mouth. Okay? You don't care how it's making other people feel. You don't care if the person that you're talking to don't like what you have to say, because you got to get it off your chest. Why do we feel that we can just talk to people any kind of way and they just got to deal with it? What is that about? Huh? We got a comment?
Yes. So first comment, unmet expectations, lack of communication, and then tone is a factor as well. So the question on the floor is what causes fights?
Okay.
What causes fights? Because we're talking about tonight, we're talking about fighting fair.
Fighting fair.
Because disagreements in relationships are inevitable.
Yeah.
You're going to have them. You know, so whether it's your marriage, whether it is you're in a dating relationship, whether it is, you know, on the job with your coworkers, whether it's ministry, partnerships, there's going to be opportunity for disagreement and for arguments and for fighting. So when we speak fighting fair, we're going to talk about it from a relational standpoint, right? From the marriage and relationship standpoint, but this can be applied across every relationship you find yourself in. All right.
So family said unmet expectation, lack of communication, tone is also a factor. Let's go and smack that tone real quick. Because I've learned that if your tones are not correct,
forget about
you can forget about having a healthy conversation. Because your tones can set the the momentum or the lack thereof for the conversation, right? You come in, you roll it in high, you yelling and screaming, you point fingers, rolling your head. How do you ever think that is going to be the birthing ground of a great conversation? It's not. Okay? You're not going to be. Hey, what's going on, Sister Linda? Good to see you on the night. Bro, Brian, good to see you on the night. Can you pronounce that?
Oh, Estefania, hello.
Yeah. What's up?
Our new friend from Lebanon.
Yeah, good to see you. So this is the thing. Like, if you're going to communicate, your tone has to be on point, right? Because I remember early on, me and Cassie, we would get into our moments, and she'd be like, "You need to check your tones," and I'd be like, "Hold up, player." Don't be telling me about my tones, because I talk passionately, right? I'm a passionate person. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a passionate person. But check this out. Just because you're a passionate person, it doesn't give you the right or the access to talk in those tones when that tone doesn't work for your spouse.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going back. Sorry, back
Yeah.
to tone. And so, sometimes, and we're going to get into fighting fair and like rules of fighting fair in a little bit,
Yeah.
but sometimes we blame, this is just my personality, this is just the way I talk, this is just
Yeah.
how I am.
Yeah.
We blame that as the reason, or we use that as the reason why we don't change our tone, or why we are comfortable just standing and delivering how we do, in relationships. But you have to tweak your tone. You have to, because you will derail the conversation before it even gets started, um, based on the tone
Absolutely.
and the amount of force that's coming out behind your word.
Absolutely. But I will also say on the flip side that you have to also learn how to get past tones sometimes when the success of the communication is needed, because sometimes that can be a roadblock to learning how to communicate better. Now, the person who has bad tone, you need to certainly correct that, but the person who are taking tones in a way, you have to stop allowing the tones to stop you from being able to effectively communicate when there's a problem and the problem needs to be resolved.
That's correct, because I have used the excuse of, I don't like how you're speaking to me, to shut down a conversation, and not because I didn't want to deal with it. All right. So we got to be real about that too. Sometimes we just don't feel like talking about something. And so it could be the right tone can be there, but because we don't feel like dealing with that particular thing in the moment, we will blame the tone and let that be the reason we won't have the conversation. So that's unacceptable as well.
Because the person who may be having the challenge with their tone, sometimes people don't know how their tones are coming across, right? They don't know how their tones may be hitting you. And you can't allow a tone to be the reason why you don't communicate. You can't allow the tone to be the reason why you don't get a resolve, because getting the resolve is the most important part of the conversation in the first place.
Absolutely.
Getting clarity, getting understanding so that we can work better together, right?
Yes.
All right. So the next thing that we had was from Brian.
What causes fights? He says a lack of healthy communication could lead to fights as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Okay. So healthy communication is, here we go. All right. Sometimes we feel like because something is not easy to hear, or it's uncomfortable to hear, that it's unhealthy.
Incorrect. Or that is wrong.
It's not wrong. Just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean that it should not be discussed, or that it's a topic that should not be addressed.
Right.
Right. My grandmother, my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother used to give me castor oil. Disgusting. Right. It was medicine. It was nasty to the taste, but it was needful for what was going on in my body. Right. Same thing with conversation and communication. There are some things that don't feel great to talk about, but once you talk about it and start working through those uncomfortable things, it brings a health and a balance to your marriage and to your relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that to me has to be like the goal. The goal has to be, all right, let's communicate to get resolved, and whatever needs to happen to get that resolved is what needs to happen. Because at the end of the day, we can't stop communicating and we can't stop moving forward because somebody feels some kind of way about a tone, or feels some way about how you said something. Sometimes you got to hear it the worst way because it brings about a change. It does bring about a change. Hey, Amy, good to see you on tonight. Thank you so much for coming on.
From Columbus. Hey.
Oh yeah, what's up?
She says, she said, I shut down too when I don't like the tone, and that's not helpful or healthy. And that's, and that's honest. That's real talk. And that's how we learn and grow, though, by acknowledging those spaces. Because, sometimes I just didn't want to acknowledge sometimes my part. I would be, because of my background and because I came out, I have a history. There's a abuse in my history, physical abuse and verbal abuse. And so certain, I would just always use that. That was my thing. It was a trigger. But no, that's the other thing. We cannot continue to walk in triggers and live in places
Absolutely.
of triggers. We have to overcome our triggers. And I will say this, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, guess what? We don't get to use triggers as our excuse because we overcome every one of those triggers. Nani, hi, that's another one of our Lebanon
What's going
ladies.
on, Nani?
Good
Good
to
to
see
see you
you
on the night.
on. Let's see.
So this is the thing, and you know, we learned this over time, right? We learned this in relationship. Like we had to get to the place where Cassie wasn't taking my tones the wrong way all the time, and I was watching my tones, right? So there has to be a give and take on both sides. Like I have to make adjustments, and she has to make adjustments. Why is making adjustments so important? Because now it gives us the ability to be able to communicate through a hard moment or a hard time. It gives us the ability to be what we're supposed to be if we're calling ourselves believers, right? If we're supposed to be loving one another, well, love prefers the other person over itself. So the first thing that we have to do is check ourselves and making sure that we're doing right by our spouse and putting them first over ourselves. And sometimes that can be a challenge. Sometimes that can be the fight. But at the end of the day, we have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it's a must. And so I typed, hey Deanna, love you, sis. Communication adjustments are required
Absolutely.
in relationship or to have healthy relationships. I probably should have reworded that. I'm trying to get our light together. Sorry about
I
that.
probably need some more batteries. I got some batteries upstairs.
We'll have that right next week.
But I do believe that like making the adjustments are very important, because if you stop making adjustments, that means that you have stopped being willing to grow, because adjustments require growth. If you're going to make an adjustment, it's going to require you to look at things from a different perspective, right? It's going to require you to have a different outlook, or maybe understanding, or have the ability for a new understanding to be interjected into your thought life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times we have to be willing to make adjustments for the greater good of the relationship.
Yeah. So adjustments are needed based on the growth of the relationship. And
Absolutely.
the imagery that's coming to me for that is, when a person has braces on their teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and as the teeth straighten, like they have to have adjustments to get those teeth straightened out. It's not just you put the braces on and then you keep them on as they are for 2 years. No, there's some tightening, there's some adjusting that has to happen based on the shifting of the teeth. So the same thing in your relationship. You should be shifting toward like growth plates, right? We should be shifting and growing in our relationships and really in our person. Okay, so even if you're not in a marriage or dating, you should still be growing in the way that you communicate.
Absolutely.
Especially through disagreement.
Absolutely.
You should not be 50 years old still having a tantrum like a 5-year-old. Something didn't go right at work and you having an all-out tantrum. Pull it together.
Absolutely. Because again, adjustments are necessary, but all adjustments are not going to be comfortable. They're not going to be comfortable, because when you're learning how to be a better you, learning how to be a better you sometimes comes with very uncomfortable moments and very uncomfortable adjustments. But the adjustments are needed nonetheless. You have to be willing to be adjustable. You have to be willing to be flexible, because everything is not going to be based on how you see it, how you want it, the expectations that you have set, or the expectations that you have or desire to be, when that's only one side of the equation. That's only one side. Like, are you giving yourself the opportunity to see the other side of how whatever you're doing is impacting the other person, which is requiring adjustment to be made? Are you doing that? And is it important for you to do it? Like, it has to be important for you to do it. We were talking to some of our mentees today, and one of the things that we were talking about was, learning how to communicate in a way that's effective and important for both of us, not just one, for both of us,
Yes,
because we're equally as important in this relationship,
that's right.
you know? So we have to care how the other person feels and what works for the other person as well, right? So, making the appropriate adjustments and doing what's best for both involved is a requirement. What do you guys say? Do you think that making adjustments on both sides is something that should happen? And if so, tell us why you think that's important. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Just go in and slide that comment in the comment fields so we can put it up on the screen and have this conversation. Again, this is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. This is a conversation between us and you guys. What do you have to say? And how has these things shown up in your relationships? And what kind of adjustments have you had to make in order to live in relationship or in marriage with someone else? Right?
Patrick Brown, Dr. Brown is watching. Good to see you on tonight,
What's
sir.
up, Dr. Brown? Good to see you, my friend. Yeah.
Maria Lyles, good to see you on, Mama. Good to see you.
What's she say?
So she said, absolutely. If not, both sides won't be heard and a solution won't come forth.
Absolutely. So,
okay, so I think she went because I put it in rule number 1. I jumped ahead. I jumped us ahead.
Absolutely. So making sure that you're communicating and how you're communicating and making sure what the other person needs is vitally important.
Yeah. So let's jump in. Let's go ahead and jump into our Fighting Fair rules. And so this is adapted from therapistaid.com. We look for resources that we can use that can be beneficial. And so we pull the resources and then we pull Holy Spirit in.
Amen.
Yeah, that's just how
Amen.
it works, right?
Amen.
And let me reverse that. We ask Holy Spirit to lead us to a resource.
Yes.
We look at it and then we are like, okay, how can we fuse you in? How can we weave you in? So anyway, fighting or fair fighting rules or fighting fair rules. So the first one is before you open your mouth, ask yourself, why am I upset? And this is before you, and so we're talking about fighting fair. And so before you enter into the argument, the discussion that could lead to the argument, rule number 1, before you open your mouth, have a conversation with yourself and find out why you're upset. All right. Take time to think about your own feelings before starting the argument. You need to do that. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about that? Like assessing where you are emotionally before you enter into.
You certainly got to assess where you are before you enter into a conversation. The sad part is that most people don't. Most people just dive into the conversation before saying anything, before they've carefully considered what they are going to say and or say. So I think it's very important to consider filtering what you're considering saying through careful thought.
Yeah. Right. And so, and sometimes if you know, when you stop and have that conversation with yourself, Holy Spirit will tell you, this is not a good time for you to talk about this.
Absolutely.
All right. We heard, Steve Harvey on Family Feud, that family, who was it? The Wilson Phillips, I think, was on there, and they started saying Holy Spirit activate. We got all charged up about that. That's real talk.
Yeah.
Before you enter into a disagreement or something that you're upset about, you might want to just let Holy Spirit lead you there.
All right, let's get some of these comments.
That's what she was saying about absolutely see where you are, otherwise both sides won't be heard.
Okay.
Gaslighting, how should it be handled? She says she shuts down on that.
Well, I think again, when you're carefully considering the other person, right? You carefully consider how things are being handled. And sometimes you have to understand, you have to ask yourself, regardless of if someone's gaslighting or not, should I be shutting down? And is this going to get the desired result? You see what I'm saying? Because they might be gaslighting because that's their form of fighting, right? But But if the goal is to get resolved, then I have to look past something being gaslighted and continue to communicate so that we can get the desired result, right? Because that's the goal. The goal is to get resolved. The goal is not to be dealing with this from this place on. The goal is to be walking together in harmony and in agreement, right? So if that's the goal, regardless if they're gaslighting or not, you have to be, because again, you could be wrong in your assessment. So we want to be making sure that we are taking that into account. Can you read that?
Hold on. Yes, I'm trying to answer questions in the chat as well as.
All right. So Teraya says, taking time to think it through first. She loves it. And she agreed. In the beginning of our marriage, I never thought it through and made it worse. And it does, like when you don't really think through what's getting ready to slide out those lips, it can just cause some discomfort, some unwanted discomfort, right? So I think again we have to be considering what we're saying, how it has the potential to impact someone negatively or positively, right? We need to be considering that.
Right.
So
we got some more comments. Hold on, I'm almost through this. I'm sorry.
Let's go, man. Let's see. We have Amy.
She said, I'm so emotional, and if I cry, it causes my spouse to elevate his tone, which makes things worse. So I've learned to adjust my mindset and try not to allow myself to get so emotional, but it's hard to do. That is difficult to do because we each express our emotions differently, and we each respond differently to certain tones. And so in that space, I feel like there needs to be just grace.
Absolutely.
There needs to be grace.
Absolutely.
For me as the emotional person, me, right? Grace and understanding that, yes, I'm emotional and it's probably going to set him off. But there also needs to be grace on the other side to know that, hey, I'm only emotional because I care at all.
But then also, then you have to ask the question, why is the emotion maybe setting him off? Is there something deeper that you don't know about? You see what I'm saying? So I think it has to be, it always has to be viewed from both perspectives, because there could be a reason why that emotion is setting him off, And so like and I think you said the key word, like having that grace thinking towards one another and making sure, hey, you can be emotional, but don't be overly emotional. And I can be touched a little bit, but not overly touched, right? So we have to start coming up with these ways of dealing with one another in a more peaceful and more graceful perspective.
Yeah. She said he wants to fix it. She said he's a fixer.
I am too. And sometimes that can be dealing with emotion when you want to fix something can be a challenge. It's like just see it from this perspective. Just imagine trying to be on the side of the road, changing a tire, and you have somebody yelling in your ear the whole time. That's not right. That's not right. Do it this way. I don't like that. Blah, blah, blah. It although he might not be frustrated by your emotion, but the circumstance, the situation at that time, and all of that working together can be the reason why he is annoyed with your emotionalism.
Yeah.
So the circumstances and the conditions around what's going on, can dictate a response one way or the other.
Right. So Brian had another comment.
Okay, let's go.
Let me see. Let me find him. He said, go back. Okay, he said, I believe everything should be with love. Communicate with love, listen and receive with love. If we call ourselves followers of Christ, well, we have to understand Jesus is love. So ask yourself, how would Jesus communicate? Then he said, go back to that 90s wristband. What would Jesus do?
Absolutely.
Taria said, if you don't think it through, it's just a battle of emotions.
Absolutely.
Got that right.
Absolutely.
She said, in the beginning, I would set my very calm husband off because of his past trauma and feeling disrespected.
Yep. And again, we have to now, like, because this is stuff, and I think certain people, they'll look at this and maybe not agree, but I think when it comes to dealing with people, you always have to be considering where they came from.
Yeah.
You have to be considering the upbringing that they had and how that is triggering all of it. You already know. We effectively say in the Marriage Village, deal with your stuff. And the reason why we say that is because if you haven't dealt with your childhood trauma, if you haven't dealt with being taken advantage of, being molested or anything like that in your childhood, that is going to show up in your relationship. That is going to show up in your marriage. And if you haven't dealt with that, that is trauma that has become a trigger. That is trauma that has become a touchy moment, or what's that? A trigger, or you pushing the override button because you've been triggered. Because that's what we do. We get triggered and then we just shut down or we blow past people.
Yeah. And so what you have not dealt with will show up in every relationship that you are involved in.
Absolutely.
Everyone. And I say this a lot because you may think it doesn't connect. It will show up at work. It will show up not just, it will show up in your friendships. It'll show up everywhere. That thing that you haven't dealt with. Like you said, whether it's a childhood trauma, triggers, whatever those things are, whatever relationship you're in,
yeah,
that's going to show up.
Yeah,
if it's undealt with. All right. So rule number 2, talk about one issue at a time. We're talking about fair fighting rules. When you're fighting to fight fair,
that's good.
One issue at a time.
One issue at a time.
All right. It's not we're in this disagreement and I'm about to unload everything you've ever done for the past 5 years. I got it in my journal written down and I'm ready. I'm coming for you. That is not how you fight fair. Because ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, I know the Bible says love keeps no record of wrong, but ladies, our hearts and our emotions and our sensitivity to things, we don't do it on purpose. But if we are not intentional about not keeping record of wrong, we will keep a record of wrong. Right.
Absolutely.
And even I love journaling, but I'm not a day-to-day journal. I'm an event journaler. So I journal when highlights, things happen, good things. But then I also had a hurt journal, right? Just coming up. I haven't gone too much to my hurt journal lately, but and I say that's just what I'm calling it now, but it doesn't say hurt journal. We got some questions coming in here too. I'm
okay. Nah, I got you.
But what I'm saying is, if we are not careful, we will take record and hold record of wrong. And so we will come into a discussion about something that maybe there was a disagreement. And instead of talking about the one thing and processing through that one thing, we will bring 10 things.
All right.
So that's not fair.
So thank you.
Taria, thank you.
Thank you, Taria, and thank you, Jessica. Is that Jessica?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I think a lot of times what we do is we have these moments where we can address a situation, and instead of addressing the situation that's on the floor, we start going back and getting this other stuff and going back and getting this other stuff and start piling it on and piling it on. And then the person that you brought the issue with, they're like, okay, so what issue do you want? Which one you want me to tackle? Because now I feel overwhelmed. Now I feel like I'm being bombarded.
What actually is the thing that you could, right? So you go from talking about we spending too much money to you don't care about the family. I'm doing, I'm doing everything. I'm out here taking care of these kids. You doing it, it turns into just a pile.
It's like a throw up session. You just just everything comes out. It's like, no. Let's get one thing and let's address it.
And the thing is, because in a healthy relationship, even when I don't necessarily want to hear the thing that you might be saying I'm doing wrong, because I desire to have peace and harmony in my marriage, I do want to be better.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm very hard on me. I'm very hard on myself just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I get overwhelmed when you telling me, when I'm trying to work on one or two things and you're giving me 10 things that are needing correction.
And I think like when you have that moment though, like when you're having a moment and you feel overwhelmed because too much information is coming, I think the appropriate thing to do at that point is articulate that. Hey, can we talk? Can we stay on this one thing here? Because this is really what I want to address.
But you know what happens sometimes though is you wait too long to address things, and when you finally get that person all to yourself, oh, I got you now. I'm about to get it all. I'm about to get it all out because I don't know when I'm gonna get this moment again, right? And you don't get that moment again because that person is like, oh heck no, I'm not. You ain't getting no more of my time. You get no more time, right? Yeah. As Jessica says, I'm the same way. I truly just spoke to my husband about that. Like, can you only tell me about one thing? Because I can't right now. Listen, baby, let me tell you. I might be able to work on two things, but I'm not a great multitasker. I used to be pretty good at this.
I think
it's not good anymore.
I do think that it's very important to know your limitation, or to know your capacity as it pertains to how much information you can take at one time. I think that's very important because when you know your capacity, now it's your responsibility to keep your spouse or your significant other aware of you being close to or past your capacity.
Right.
You know, so making sure that you discuss, all right, if we're going to discuss this, can we please just stay on this? Don't be going out there and get 50 other things that you felt about me from last week. Let's deal with right now. Let's deal with what I want to talk about right now. Okay. So what's our next point?
So rule number 3. Well, Jessica said that's why it's important to talk daily. Absolutely. Don't let stuff build up. Rule number 3: no degrading language.
Oh no, like
when you are fighting fair.
Oh no, like how you enter into the conversation is going to dictate the direction that the conversation goes in. So if you come into the conversation using derogatory
Santo,
if you're not watching how you enter into the conversation, it'll be like a runaway train. You'll go in with the intentions of having a respectful and peaceful conversation, but you'll get into the weeds of other stuff because your language and the words that came out of your mouth took over the conversation. Do you understand that words have power? So when you say something, it can hit a person a certain way. And then if you're not thinking about your tones, and like if you say what the and that is a trigger for a person, you already lost the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to be mindful what's coming out of here, because what's coming out of here can do a lot of damage.
Right. So the article says discuss the issue, not the person. No put downs, no swearing, no name calling. Degrading language is an attempt to express negative feelings while making sure the person you're in relationship with feels just as bad.
Yeah.
This just leads to more character attacks. And again, the original issue is forgotten.
And when you have a character attack, what happens? Sister Linda said it. Self-defense.
Anytime attack is in the form or in the phrase, defense is coming next.
Absolutely. And you can't really fault a person for defending themselves when what you're giving to them feels like a stab or feels like a punch. That's why you have to grace your words, lace your words with grace, lace your words with love, humility, empathy, compassion. all of that,
You got
because
that right.
if you don't, the direction of the conversation is going to go in a direction. That's just what it
You
is.
got that right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're not considering your words, like, don't be just popping off at people. Like, if you can't, you don't know what a person has been dealing with in a day. So when they hit your presence, be considering that maybe they didn't have a good day.
Yeah, and again, resort to rule number one. Ask yourself why you're feeling upset.
Listen.
Because if you're already amped up, you don't need to have, that's not the time to have the conversation. All right. Amy says, I work for my husband and his business. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so he's my boss and my husband together 24/7, and that's difficult. Absolutely. So I think here comes, I love this.
Yeah.
I love when we get to talk about stuff like this, because
Yeah.
this is where you can kind of build in some adventure and some fun
Absolutely.
into the marriage, right?
Absolutely.
So even though it's 24/7 together, okay, at this point, you're no longer my boss, right?
Yeah.
9 to 5 or whatever the business hours are, and you can set that up. And I know the business may be different hours, but this is just a tip.
Yeah.
I mean, it may work or may not, but from these hours to these hours, you're my boss. We're going to debrief for an hour between boss and coming home to husband, because you have to, even though he's always going to be all of those, he'll always be all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to distinguish breaks or a breaking point, or delineate between when one starts and one stops.
And you also, like, with giving the role assignment based off of time, right? At all times, regardless, you being my boss, you are my husband first. So as my boss, be my husband. So deal with me in a way that says you love me, and this business is not more important than how you handle me as your wife, being an employee. Because I don't get to separate the two. Me and Cassie, we work together. So when I see her, she's still my wife. Now, is there a certain way that I have to handle?
There's some boundaries at work.
We have some boundaries at work, because again, we have other people who may not know that we're married, and so we have to make sure that we're handling ourselves a certain way. But she's my wife first, even as an employee, and even if she was like, even being the pastor of our church.
Now that part, listen, my husband and my pastor, my God.
I think the thing is when you understand, love should operate in every component of your life.
Yeah, it should.
Regardless if you're a boss, the boss, the husband, the pastor, love. It says in Corinthians, do everything that you do in love. Everything. I want to say that's 1 Corinthians 16 and 14. Let all that you do be done in love. Yeah. That, to me, that is such an important component, especially when you are together all the time. If that love is operating, regardless of what role I'm operating in, the love that I have in me should be what's governing how I'm handling you at all time, regardless if I'm the boss, regardless I'm the husband, regardless you're the boss and I'm the employee.
Say underling?
Yeah, I say underling.
Underling, how dare you?
I mean, I didn't mean it derogatory, but
I know it. You know what I'm saying? Still, what?
So. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that is First Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 14. It says, "Let all that you do be done in love." So you have to make sure that you're handling these
16 and
14.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we have to make sure that we are mindful of, number one, whose we are and who we are. So with with the roles. When you remember whose you are, that's going to dictate how I handle you because I know whose I am.
Yeah.
Hey, absolutely. You're welcome.
Amy,
Absolutely.
our
Amy.
pleasure, Mama.
Like real talk, because a lot of times I think, this is what the culture has taught us to do, right? The culture has taught us to separate our responsibility as a child of God from our responsibilities as husband, wife, co-worker, employee, all of that. And no. It should all who you are in God should show up in every area of your life. And you don't get to walk away from those things because you're in a particular office. When I'm in the office of pastor, I should love you even better because I'm a pastor. I should love you even as my wife. I should be more conscious of how I say, because now I'm not just setting the example for me, but I'm setting the example for those people who are coming after me.
So you're saying even as a boss or a supervisor, you should love more as a husband.
Absolutely.
And I'm putting my hand in the camera, sorry. Okay, I got it. And so what I was saying was not that, well, yeah, I guess I kind of was saying, you can correct me. He always will correct me if I'm wrong. But when you come, if you were my boss, right, at work, when you come home, I want you to take off the boss hat.
Yeah. And I should take off the boss hat.
But at work, you can still be boss and you are a husband. But at home,
I
want you to be my husband. And not so much that I don't want to talk about work, but there's just a different grace, if you will.
But also that's a conversation though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because as a man, sometimes we don't know how to turn off. No. Like I don't know how to turn off.
That's why we're your help me.
Absolutely. My wife can tell you, I don't know how to turn off being a pastor. No. I don't know how to turn that off because that's who I am.
And I honestly wouldn't want him to turn it off. I don't want him to turn it off because here's the other thing for wives that are listening, and even women who are dating men of God or men that are aspiring to live godly lives. Don't ever ask them to diminish who they are or to be less of a man of God. Because I used to say, and I'm saying this is teaching that came from my pastor. He taught me this because I used to say, I don't want him to be the pastor today. I just want my husband, right? In theory, he understood what I was saying, but what it sounded like was me saying, I want him to diminish his authority or his office as the man of God, as that pastoral office. I wanted him to bring that down or diminish it in some way to get in my flesh and my emotions with me as a wife. Now, here's where what he could do. He should never stop being that, right? Or be less of that pastor. However, just identify more. You don't got to be less of anything. Just identify more with where I am or try to relate more to where I am. So what does that say? See how that language changes? Yeah. It turns it from me asking him to diminish something, but now I'm it's kind of like the flip. Okay, you don't have to bring that down, but open yourself up to more grace in this space, which that's a Holy Spirit thing. Holy Spirit can open us up to more all the time with no issue, especially more grace and more love, versus me saying, just come down a little bit, just turn it off a little bit, right? Yeah. Be a little less pastory to me.
Because again, like it's like asking me to shut a part of who I really am off.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to shut that off. I don't get to say I'm not a pastor right now because I am. Now, what is more important in this moment is that I husband you, that I don't talk to you like you're a congregant
member
or a church member, but I talk to you and I handle you as my spouse. And that is something, again, that we have to learn how to govern as we're going along, as we're walking. As you go, this is how you you start to navigate. Hold on, before you do that, we have that.
Before this?
No, right here. Before you go to that point, we have this. She just put that in there.
Okay, she said, there's a time I need my husband to be my pastor, then to be my friend, then to be my lover, then to be my husband, which is still like a shepherd, but there's times that I just need him to listen and not preach at me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it, like I said, it's almost like, all right, let's call up that I need the pastor to come up right now, or I need to rise to the top, or I need my husband, like you said, to rise to the top. I don't know if Bishop Jakes is a good example to use, but I don't want him in my bedroom when it's time, when it's time for intimacy. I don't want to hear no preaching. I don't want to hear a word. I don't even want to hear a Song of Solomon. Right, but exactly, you want the appropriate, show up in the appropriate office in the appropriate moment is all. Yes. So I'm with you, Jessica. Yes, ma'am. So rule number 4, and I think this is going to be our last one for tonight, and we can pick up, maybe we'll pick up the rest of them next week. So rule number 4, express your feelings with words and then take responsibility for them. So
absolutely.
For example, I feel angry. I feel hurt when you ignore my phone calls. I feel scared when you yell. These are good ways to express how you feel. Starting with I is also a good technique to help you take responsibility for your feelings.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So now they did caution you. No, you cannot say whatever you want just as long as you started with I feel.
Right.
But what you can do is when you say I feel, it takes the blame, like it takes that blame off. So it doesn't make, you're not saying you make me feel, you make me.
It takes the attack away.
Yeah, my therapist, Dr. Sandy Burkett, taught me something great. Nobody can make you feel anything.
Absolutely.
We are responsible for our feelings.
Absolutely.
We are responsible for our feelings. Nobody can make you feel. People can do things, right, that cause a feeling to come. However, it is on us whether we allow that feeling
and it lets you take, like you said, it lets you take responsibility. It takes the attack away, and it says, hey, hear me out. This is how that made me feel. When I hear you say, this is how it made me feel, instantly it grabs my attention. Because now you're expressing how something impacted you. And that causes my husband and tenants to come up because of how you feel. I care about how you feel. I care about what you think. I care about how something impacted you. So when you use those I feels, it made me, those types of things where you're taking the ownership and saying,
just know I feel. Yeah. I feel angry. I feel hurt. I feel scared when you yell. Yeah. Right? It is saying, I feel this way. However, it is in response to something that you're doing, right? I feel angry or I feel scared when you yell. A loving, caring spouse is going to address that. And I don't know how many men would be honest or willing to say they feel scared when their wife yells. They probably feel like something else, right? Yeah. Scared might not be the word, but there is a feeling that comes when your wife is yelling and doing all the things, right? But the bottom line is we have to own our feelings. We express them and we take ownership of them. Amy said, I needed this tonight. I can't thank you enough. We did find a new church, and even going the first time together yesterday with our young son made a huge difference. It is our absolute pleasure to do this. That is making me smile. Absolutely. You see this big smile. I'm glad that you all are worshiping together. It makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Absolutely.
You just don't, I don't know. I don't know a time of not, being in worship together with my husband. But I have seen it make a difference in others' relationships, like people that did not have that, and then it became, a part of their lifestyle. I've seen it work.
Call me religious if you want to. I don't care. I believe families should go to church together.
Yes, you're welcome, Sister
Don't let
Linda.
don't let them don't let them uh don't let them worldly people tell you, well, you can go over there, because you to me, you guys need to get the same teaching. You need to get the same impartation. You need to hear the same word.
Right. And now I will say that I want to say this, and he'll always correct me when I misspeak. Sometimes there may be situations where people are going different, um, because maybe one spouse is not ready for the next level of whatever, of revelation or understanding. That's going to require a lot of prayer, because somebody's going to have to make the sacrifice. So it may be the stronger spouse having to make the sacrifice,
Absolutely.
and just saying, all right,
And
Lord,
not going together
give me
is
the
not an
strength.
option.
Give me the strength, God.
And this is why I say not going together is not an option. You got to understand that Satan is cunning. You have to understand that any way that he can speak separation, he will. Any way he can say, y'all ain't gonna go together, that can become a door that he can walk through. And don't let anybody ever tell you that's not a possibility, because that's always you got to understand what you're fighting against, especially when it comes to this marriage. Put your family. Listen, me and my wife, we watch our spiritual parents on Sunday. We'll turn that TV on because we are pastors, but we also do our thing together, watching our spiritual parents online. So again, you have to don't open any doors. Period. For me, no, don't open any doors. Don't give Satan any way to get in. And I'm so glad that you guys have found a church home to worship together. Elder sis, I don't think I acknowledged you, but what's up, Elder
Yes, we
sis?
see you, Elder Sis. Swan, we love you.
But just make sure, man, like go together. So
We got some more comments. We got a couple more comments. So Jessica said, I need to learn how not to get so loud so quickly. I can speak when I feel upset, but I'm already yelling at him. My voice is already being raised, and I believe it's because I was raised around yelling a lot. So I need to learn to speak without getting loud. And honestly, that is a wonderful point of self-awareness, because every time you come up, it's taking a light. That's okay. We gotta have to get into this again. How our culture, like how the culture our environment we were raised in, it definitely shapes how we show up in relationships now. And so it's really just, and we talk a lot about unlearning different things that maybe worked or didn't work. But maybe it worked in a different season of our life, or maybe we saw it in, family situations, but it just doesn't work for the blueprint of what God has for your marriage. Right. And so it really is just going to take practice. It's going to take practice. When you've been used to doing something for so long, it becomes a habit. And so just as soon as you identify, ooh, I'm yelling, and you can even say out loud, oh, babe, hold on, I'm yelling, or my voice, I'm getting a little loud. Hold on 1 second. Let me correct. let me auto correct. Right. And there's a way, and you can do that. And I've done that before. I'll say something. I'm like, oh, wait, that's not how I meant to say that. And there's grace for that, because that just shows that you are interested in being better.
Absolutely.
And that's the only thing that can be received from that.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to change it.
Absolutely.
Kia says, hey sis. She says sometimes people don't like to change where they go as far as church. She said the doctrine may not be the same. So doctrines may be different.
Absolutely. I'm telling you what we know. I'm telling you this. That devil is smart, and he knows how to speak in innuendos. He knows how to speak in what's our one word? Subliminal messages, imagery, and stuff like that. So you have to be very careful. Like, listen, okay, if you're the strong, this is where we need to identify who is the stronger individual in that particular capacity. Because at that point, the word says, ye who are strong, bear the infirmities of the weak.
Mhm.
So now, if you know this place works better for your spouse and you're the stronger spouse and you can go there and let them get what they need, that's what needs to happen. Period. Take one for the team.
Unless they are in a church that is antichrist.
Oh, if they antichrist, like we getting up out of here.
And I say that because and that's I just wanted to throw that out there because we follow, our spouses as they follow Christ. That's what the charge is. And so I always just want to put that out there. We walking in the word. Wait a minute, let me keep going. Oh, Susanna said, wowzers. She said, I don't fit in the church my husband loves so much. And here's the other thing. Okay, so here's the other thing. Is it Bible believing, Bible based, right? Because sometimes it is just a preference thing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, just start praying. If you're going and the Lord sees you, He knows what is needed. And if it is a situation where this ain't it, Lord, this is like in your spirit, not our fleshly preferences, right? But we know in our spirit this is not a good place for us or our spouse. That's where we got to get on assignment and get on the wall
and pray
and pray
and pray, because
it works.
Like, it does, because me and Cassie had a moment like this where we were at a particular ministry and it was time to.
I didn't want to go. I ain't even gonna lie.
It was time to transition.
I was enjoying it.
And I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I ain't gonna argue with her, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I know where we going. And I didn't tell her that, but I left it in His hands and He worked on her heart. So
and I contemplated for a split second that going to two different churches kind of thing, but I don't. That's not even how I was raised. We weren't raised that way. It is. Now my stepfather, may he rest in power, love him. When he came to church, he came with us, but he never encouraged us not to go to church. He was like, this is where you all go. You're built up here. And then when he gave his life to the Lord, he came with us.
Listen,
period.
Let me tell you this.
Oh Lord.
As for me and my house,
here we go.
We will go to church together. You understand what I'm saying? As for me and my house.
Jessica said, I do be like, I need to chill.
My bad.
Hold up. Right. That's it. Let's see. Sometimes you can walk in the church and know absolutely. Turn around and get up out of there.
Absolutely.
Amy says, okay, we're from two different yokes, but both Christian, but it has caused many disagreements and I don't really understand it.
Yeah, that's the reason why I say, and I'm gonna really help you understand what I'm saying, because I want you to know that I love you. We love both of you guys. Yes, and I just want I want to speak clearly here. So I have seen these types of things. We have seen these types of things tear a marriage up. And so that is where, if it's tearing your marriage up, no, nothing should be able to come into your marriage and tear it up. That's why the word said, let no man, and I want to go on and say, I'm not adding this to the word. I'm gonna say, let no church, no thing allow there to be division in your home. Period. If us going to this church is causing division, to me, that's a sign that you shouldn't be going. Period. So let's go somewhere where we can both agree. Let's search until we find something. And let's not settle on anything till we both have settled that this is okay. And that is it, and I really believe that once you guys settle into, we're going to do this together. We're not going to be separate in our going to worship. We're going to do it together. I believe everything will start pointing in that direction. Because when you have agreement, I'm telling you, it just works marvelous. And again, if it's a point of contention, then hey, let's sit down. Like, get with us. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let us give you our experience to help you make it through that moment, because this is why the marriage village exists, because you don't have to do this stuff by yourself. Come do it. Let us help you like we were helped when we had moments like this, right? So yeah. Hold on one second. Absolutely, Amy. And she said, absolutely. And I really believe, like, when you set that as the goal, right? When you set that togetherness as the goal, when I tell you God would breathe on that thing, he will bring so much unity and positivity and harmony in your house. This is what we have to learn how to do, though. This is what Colossians 3:14 says. It says, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So that's where we have to love one another, prefer the other person over yourself. If we're preferring one another over ourselves and we're not we don't have a what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have a condition that causes separation. Take that condition, move it out of the way, and put love in the place of that condition. And when you put love in the place of that condition, it will bring harmony. Yes. I can tell you what I know.
Absolutely.
Linda said, praying. Kia says, sometimes we
marry, planning to change the other, but you both should have Christ and the marriage will be blessed and work out if there is open communication.
Absolutely.
That's the truth. Absolutely. Because when Christ is in the center, it's like each person is trying to work toward being better. Each person is better in Christ, so better for the marriage.
Well, when Christ is in the middle, love is there because he's love. So at the end of the day, it is going to cause there to be a binding of peace and harmony together. You understand?
Yeah. Hey, Mama Gigi, we see you.
Hey, Mama Gigi, good to see you on tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you get that? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
I don't really know how to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make it bigger.
Nah, I was trying to get the comments, but whatever. Is that the last comment?
That was.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so in that, and as we close, we just have to prefer one another. I really believe that when you learn how to prefer your spouse over yourself, and you remove out the conditions that will cause there to be separation and disunity, you'll get that stuff dealt with. So let's be doing the work to make sure that we take out any possibility for there to be any separation, or disagreement or whatever. Well, people, we have done our time. We have had fun kicking it with the village. Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. Thank you so much for partaking in the conversation and talking with us. We love you all, man. When I tell you we love you guys so much and appreciate what God has built and is continuing to build here in the village, we don't take that lightly, man. We really don't, and we honor and respect all of you guys and love you and love what you add to our village. Thank you for being a part of our village. Thank you for being a part of our lives. You have anything?
No, if you want to do our announcements,
all right.
Village tomorrow.
So tomorrow we will be doing our church Bible study. Church in the Village is the name of our church, and we will be doing our Bible study from 7 to 8 o'clock tomorrow. If you want to get in, please come into the room. We sort of took a little bit of a different turn last week to really teach people how to study the Bible, but this week we'll be back doing our normal setup and Bible study, and we will be discussing faith on tomorrow. So you want to get in the house, you want to be a part of the conversation. If you don't have a church home, you can come and be a part of our online church as well as our in-person church. If you're in the city of Louisville or the surrounding areas and you're looking for a church home, come on and be a part of our village, man. We would love to have you and are praying God's blessing over your life. Hey, family, we love y'all too.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming in, Elliot.
Also coming up, I'm not gonna let him lose it.
Yeah, don't let me lose it.
We have the Marriage Village Conference coming up. our theme this year, all year, is getting back to love. And
Yeah.
that conference is, we have two coming up. The first one is in Sellersburg, Indiana at Kingdom Life Church.
Yeah.
That is April 19th and 20th. You don't want to miss that. Again, that is in Sellersburg, Indiana. Our Eventbrite link will be going live here in the next couple of days. I believe it's the 25th that goes live. And so you can register for that conference. It is going to be fire.
Yeah.
Again, our theme for this year is getting back to love. And so we are talking about love in relationships, right? And so that Friday night is always worship in the village. It kicks off with worship and setting you up for the boot camp that's coming on that Saturday. And so we have our opening session, then we have our breakout sessions with the man cave and the she shed. We also have this time around a special session for our singles.
Yes.
And that is Saturday as well. And we're gonna there's some questions coming in on Messenger, but I don't know if I touch that, if it's going to kick me out of something. So that's why I see these questions coming in. I don't want to disregard that. But anyway, back to the conference. He's coming. So don't get off, whoever that is in Messenger, with your questions. We're coming. Then on that Saturday, we also have, breakout sessions, and then we end with our Getting Back to Love panel this year. And so I am so excited for that. And then we will be, again, Memorial Day weekend, we will be in Columbus, Ohio for Marriage Village conference, Getting Back to Love Columbus. And so just mark your calendars. We also have coming up on May 18th, the Relay, which is Kenosis Community Pastors Elliott, Pastor CJ Elliott, and Prophetess Dewana Elliott. It is a women's only event, but it is called the Relay. And so that is also on our social media pages so that you can register for that event. You want to get in the room. You want to get in the room for all of these things that are coming up, because there is fire connected to the Marriage Village.
Absolutely.
Fire in a good way. And so let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So we got some questions.
One of the questions is how do you respond to an issue when it's been addressed and it gets turned around, and one half never takes responsibility? This is what I'll say to that. Like, sometimes people who don't know how to take responsibility, they need help taking responsibility. So that to me is a place where you need to get a third party and let that third party sit between the two of you and help you communicate, because it could be a place where you guys can't discuss this amongst yourself, and you need other people to help you understand what's being said. Because let me just give you an example. So sometimes Cassie and I, we can want to talk about something, but we haven't understood how to articulate it with one another. And so that's the only one.
Okay.
And so we have, let me make sure. Yeah, that's the only one. Sometimes we have had to pull in our spiritual parents to help us work through our dilemma or issue. So you want to make sure that, like, if another person is just not getting it, okay, let's pull in a third party and talk to them about pulling in a third party, because again, getting the resolve is the most important thing at that time. Okay, you have anything you want to add with that?
In addition to that, I want to say, if you are a person in a relationship that never takes responsibility for anything, you are in error.
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel pretty confident in saying that it's never only one person presenting issues. I'm trying to get my mic. Sorry.
Oh, my bad.
It's never just one-sided, right? If Joe is responding in a way and we're having a disagreement, or we're talking about something, he's usually responding to what I've presented. And so I can't say, well, he has to take responsibility for his part and I have to take responsibility for mine.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say in that, because the question alluded to one person never taking responsibility in these disagreements, in these arguments. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there is nobody perfect in any relationship.
Nah,
Jesus was the only perfect one.
yeah,
The Bible says he knew no sin.
yeah.
The rest of us,
We know
we
sin.
come up short, right?
Yeah,
Way short.
yeah.
So
We do.
we have to be willing to take responsibility and to even entertain the idea that we might have been wrong.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Like I said, I just believe that sometimes it requires you to have a third party so that they can interject when you guys are having a communication failure. They can stop the failure um, from uh, happening so that you guys will have the opportunity to communicate what's important so the person can hear it. Because if you guys are in the midst of a screaming match, nobody's hearing nothing. That's just what it is. I don't care who you are, what you're not that good. You're not gonna hear through no screaming. I ain't heard nothing you said while you screaming at me. And if I did, I don't care what you have to say at that point because you're screaming. So we have to, again, let's have the conversation in the sense of let's get somebody else involved that loves us, that wants to see us together. Um,
mm-mm.
yeah, let's get together, have the conversation with a third party so that we can learn how to communicate appropriately.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, we can go ahead and address it. So some people do feel like, nope, what goes on in this house stays in this house, and the council is the Bible and God. Well, guess what? How far have people that feel that way look at your relationship and see how far you've gotten with that approach?
Okay, and if we want to bring the Bible into it, the Bible says that there's safety in the multitude of counsel.
Yeah.
So you can take that approach, but that's not biblical. Is you're not telling the truth on the word of God.
Right.
Because the word says it's safe to go get counsel from multiple people who have wisdom.
Right. Now
that's Bible.
And that the key is from people that have wisdom. Do not air your dirty laundry to anybody that will listen. That's another class, and we got to get off of here. But we can't just air our dirty laundry to anybody that will listen. Find somebody with some wisdom, and somebody that, yes, a trusted source, Kia, absolutely, that can speak life into your situation, and that is not going to be afraid to tell you the hard things.
And we have to understand that God has given us parents for a reason. He's given us people who know more for a reason.
Yeah.
He's given us people who can see further for a reason. That's why accountability is such a big part of being a son or daughter of God. Being accountable, submitting yourself, and making sure that you're operating fully in that submission. But again, please make sure that you had your what they call them, your announcements for tonight. Bible study tomorrow, 7 to 8. We'll have the link out on Facebook and on all of our platforms. And then Marriage Village, April 19th and 20th in Sellersburg, Indiana. Also, did you announce the one in May? Memorial Day weekend. Kenosis Community.
They got theirs out there. May 18th. It's all out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So make sure you guys are in the house tomorrow. We'll be talking about faith. We love you guys, man. Hopefully something was said on tonight. We pray God's blessing over you guys and making sure that you guys have a great week. Okay. If you have any questions or any comments or anything that you need prayer on and you don't want to put it in the live chat, you can always go to Messenger and put it there, but you can always send an email to themarriagevillage@gmail.com and we will get to you as soon as we can. Okay. We normally try to turn that around in 24 to 48 hours. All right. So God bless you. We love you. And again, thank you guys so much for coming on.
All right. Good night. Love you all.
Good night, people.